Difference between roles and profiles? Roles. Optional for user creation. Maintain record-level access. Role is not mandatory. Role helps in opening the records to the users above the role hierarchy. Profiles. Profile manages the Salesforce.com license, tab settings, record types, page layouts, general settings, administrator settings, etc. Mandatory for user creation. Maintain object-level access. Profile is mandatory. Profile helps to put restrictions on the object. Difference between Lookup and Master-Detail relationship in Salesforce? Lookup. Loosely coupled. Parent is not a required field while creating child record. We cannot create roll-up summary field. No cascade delete. We can have maximum 25 lookup on an object. Master-Detail. Tightly coupled. Parent is a required field while creating child record. We can create roll-up summary field. Cascade delete. We can have maximum 2 master details on an object. Difference between lookup filters and validation rules in Salesforce? Use a lookup filter. You want to improve user efficiency by limiting the number of available options in a lookup search dialog. You want to improve user efficiency by automating filters on lookup search dialogs that your users manually set. Use a validation rule. You're close to the maximum number of lookup filters allowed. You must implement a complex business rule that requires you to use a formula. Formulas can reference fields that basic filter criteria can't reference, such as fields on the parent of the source object. Formulas can also use functions. For example, use ISNULL if the rule should only apply on record creation, or is changed if the rule should apply when a field changes. What is difference between trigger and workflow? Workflow. Workflow is an automated process that fired an action based on evaluation criteria and rule criteria. We can access a workflow across the object. We cannot perform DML operation on workflow. We cannot query from database. Trigger. Trigger is a piece of code that executes before or after a record is inserted or updated. We can access the trigger across the object and related to that objects. We can use 20 DML operations in one trigger. We can use 20 sockles from database in one trigger. What is difference in ISNULL and ISBLANK? ISNULL determines if an expression is null, blank, and returns true if it is. If it contains a value, this function returns false. Text fields are never null, so using this function with a text field always returns false. For example, the formula field if ISNULL new__c 1 0 is always 0 regardless of the value in the new field. For text fields, use the ISBLANK function instead. Multi-select picklist fields are never null in S-controls, buttons, and email templates, so using this function with a multi-select picklist field in those contexts always returns false. Empty date and date time fields always return true when referenced in ISNULL functions. Choose treat blank fields as blanks for your formula when referencing a number, percent, or currency field in an ISNULL function. Choosing treat blank fields as zeros gives blank fields the value of 0 so none of them will be null. Merge fields can be handled as blanks, which can affect the results of components like S-controls because they can call this function. When using a validation rule to ensure that a number field contains a specific value, use the ISNULL function to include fields that do not contain any value. For example, to validate that a custom field contains a value of 1, use the following validation rule to display an error if the field is blank or any other number. ISBLANK determines if an expression has a value and returns true if it does not. If it contains a value, this function returns false. Use ISBLANK instead of ISNULL in new formulas. ISBLANK has the same functionality as ISNULL, but also supports text fields. Salesforce.com will continue to support ISNULL, so you do not need to change any existing formulas. A field is not empty if it contains a character, blank space, or zero. For example, a field that contains a space inserted with the spacebar is not empty. Use the blank value function to return a specified string if the field does not have a value. If you use this function with a numeric field, the function only returns true if the field has no value and is not configured to treat blank fields as zeros. Difference between rendered, renderAs and reRender in Visualforce page? Render. Boolean value, if it is true, it displays the block, else it will be hidden. reRender. ID, particular block will be refreshed. renderAs. Display the page as PDF, Excel, etc. Differences between the import wizard and the Apex data loader? Salesforce CRM provides two tools for data migration, the import wizard and the Apex data loader. The import wizard. It is designed for less technical users and smaller, simple imports of up to 50,000 records. It takes you through the process step by step and displays error messages to alert you to potential record duplications. Use the Apex data loader for complex imports of any size. It's for technical users only. You'll need access to the API to use this tool, which is included with Enterprise and Unlimited Edition. If you have another edition, you can purchase the API separately by contacting your account executive. The data loader doesn't display error messages to alert you to potential problems. However, this tool includes several features that help make large data imports easier, such as being able to save your mappings. The table below summarizes the difference between the two tools. The instructions in the remaining steps refer to the import wizard. Difference in between Apex PageMessage, PageMessages, and Message VF Pages tags in Salesforce? Most of the times on submission of page errors will be there, and for showing those error messages, different message tags are there in Visualforce Page Reference Guide, and first time they all are gave a field that they all are same, but some minor differences are there among them, and those differences are as given below. Apex PageMessages. Apex PageMessages is a containing component where any messages that have been added to the page will appear. Apex PageMessage. Apex PageMessage is a component that adds a single message to the page. Apex Message. Apex Message allows you to associate a message with a component. Notes. Apex Pages Message is the class that is used to model a message. A message isn't associated with a page until it is added via the Apex Pages class. Apex Pages is a class that allows you to access the current page through PageMessages.currentPage and manage messages for the current page. Messages can be of error type and custom type, and generally Apex PageMessages tag comes in use for showing all the messages. What is difference between WhoId and WhatId in the data model of task? WhoId. WhoId refers to people things. So that would be typically a lead ID or a contact ID. WhatId. WhatId refers to object type things. That would typically be an account ID or an opportunity ID. Difference between profile, OWD, or a sharing rule? Profile. Profile is used for object-level access. It is used to provide CRUD, create, read, update, and delete permission. OWD. OWD is used for record-level access for all the users across organization. It is used to provide public read-only, public read-write, private, public read-write transfer, lead and case objects alone. Sharing rule. Sharing rules is used to extend role hierarchy.